Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I want to give some first thoughts on the newly revealed Omega Speedmaster Dark Side of the Moon Apollo 8. Now, this is not the first Dark Side of the Moon Apollo 8 watch that Omega has done. The first one, I believe, was in 2018, so this 2024 is more of a refresh, though there are a few quick changes to go over. By and large, the dial follows the same partially skeletonized look that the 2018 version did, with a lot of white, a lot of dark, as you would expect, a tri-register format, and some sparingly used but notable yellow handwork throughout the dial. The small seconds 9 o'clock subdial on the new version is now a titanium sculpted rocket ship rather than a more traditional second hand. Another change up is on the bezel insert, which is entirely white on this 2024 version, but the word tachometer was in yellow on the 2018 version. Strap remains basically the same. But looking at the movement from the display caseback, that is also different. This new version of the watch is powered by the Omega caliber 3869. This caliber is Metis certified, whereas in the 2018 version they used the caliber 1869, which was essentially a slightly modified version to the caliber 1861. This new version, like the prior version, has been designed so that the movement looks something akin to the surface of the moon. The watch size is significant. Just like the 2018 version, this 2024 version of the Apollo 8 watch is 44.25 millimeters in diameter. They did get the thickness down. This new version is 13 millimeters thick, whereas the prior iteration was 13.8 millimeters thick. So in a twist for Omega, they actually did get something a little bit thinner. Current version is 50 meters lug to lug. It has a lug width of 21 millimeters and weighs roughly 99 grams thanks to the fact that the case is ceramic. I should note that there's approximately 50 hours of power reserve in the caliber 3869, and this is a manual wind watch just like the prior iteration. As this is a first thoughts video, these are just my quick reactions. I have not handled this watch yet. Overall, I think this one will be somewhat polarizing. I think the aesthetic is very appealing to those that really like the lunar surface or like watches that are textured like this. Again, if you are a fan of the 2018 version, this 2024 version will probably speak to you in some capacity. The notion of having a rocket as your small seconds counter and the technique to make it is interesting in a way, but I think a lot of people also find it a bit gimmicky or childish even. Granted, that really leans into the entire aesthetic of this watch, which is very, very moon. I think a lot of people will roll their eyes when they hear about this watch simply because we already know that Omega plays up the moon watch so much, but this version in particular, just trying to make it look like the lunar surface is really sort of turning that dial up to 11. But fundamentally, I think the biggest problem with this watch is twofold. One is the biggest problem, and that is the size. The size is no smaller than the prior iteration. 44.25 millimeters is a pretty significant watch. Chronographs do often tend to run larger than other types of watches. And while I think the 13 millimeters of thickness is not really particularly concerning, especially given that it is a chronograph, and there are plenty of chronographs, though I'll admit mostly automatic chronographs that run thicker than this, I think it's pretty wearable. 44.25 millimeters is going to push it for a lot of people. That they kept the lug-to-lug limited to just 50 millimeters. I do think it's more wearable than a lot of people will initially react to, but I've already seen discussions online where many people are asking, why is this not 42 millimeters? Why did it have to be the same large size? And so I think a lot of wrists are going to just be put off by that and that alone. The other aspect I think that's really going to be an issue for this watch has to be the pricing. Now, it's helpful to bear in mind that the 2018 iteration of this watch was $9,750 when it released. This version is $14,300. It is very significant for a watch that is not limited. I'm sure the intellectual argument for this is that you've got the better movement in the current version, the techniques and technology to make the rocket small seconds hand, that the texturing and the laser ablation and all the other tricks that they've done to get that lunar surface looking the way it does are superior to what we saw 5 years ago. And I'm sure that's all true. But when you're asking over $14,000 retail for this watch, it's just going to put it out of the price range of a lot of people who would potentially be interested in it. So overall, I think this watch will have a few fans. I don't think it's going to be a big hit. And I reckon most Omega fans are going to be sitting and waiting for the purported white dial Speedmaster to drop, which I'm sure when they saw this was what was revealed first instead, were quite disappointed. But those are my first thoughts. What are yours? Please comment below with anything you think about this watch, and I'd enjoy reading that. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. If you want to be notified when I have a new video out, just click subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.